So, good morning. My name is Kasturi. I am going to explain this topic, and there are two more. Volume of fluid displaced. Volume of fluid displaced means the amount of fluid pushed out of the way by an object when it is placed in a fluid, liquid, or gas. So, example, I dropped a stone in a bowl of water. You can see some water rises or overflows. The amount of water that rises or overflows is known as the volume of fluid displaced. So, my next topic is relation between buoyant force and weight of fluid displaced. Um, buoyant force The buoyant force acting on a body immersed in a fluid is called the buoyant force acting on an object when it is placed in a fluid, liquid, or gas. So, uh, the buoyant force, when the buoyant force is greater, then the object floats. When the buoyant force is less than the object sinks. When the buoyant force is less, then the object rises. Floating and sinking of object. Floating or sinking of an object in a fluid depends on comparison between its weight and the buoyant force acting on it. So an object floats in a fluid when its density is equal to the density of the object. So an object sinks in a fluid when its density is greater than the density of fluid. So now coin sinks due to higher density in water. Wood in water floats due to wood floats because it has less dense than water. So thank you. Rest will continue by Krishna. Topic is conditions for floating. There are two conditions in which an object will float. Buoyant force equals to the weight of the object. It means when the buoyant force acting on a body is equals to the weight of liquid displaced by it, then the object floats. Like when a boat is floating, the weight of the liquid displaced by the submerged part of the boat is equal to the weight of the boat. And next is density of the object is less than density of the liquid. It means when the density of the object is less than the density of the liquid, the object floats in water, as she explained wood in water. And next is conditions for sinking. Buoyant force is less than weight of the object. It means when the buoyant force is acting on a body is less than its weight, the object sinks in water. And density, next is density of the object is greater than density of the liquid. If the density of the object is greater than the density of the liquid, the object sinks in water. Relative density. Relative density means how heavy or light a object is compared to water. It is the density of a density. It is the density of ratio of the density of a water to the substance. It is used mainly for comparison with water. We compare everything with water because water is taken as a standard. It is also used to decide floating or sinking. Relative density tells us about how heavy or light an object is. Next part. Explaining the next part, that is Differences between density and relative density. Density is the mass per unit volume of a substance, while relative density is the ratio of a substance to the density of water. Density is used in hot air balloons, while relative density is used to decide the object is floating or sinking. Secondly, we have three applications for Archimedes principle. First one is floating of boats and ships. Second one is lectometer, and then the third one is hydrometer. Now, first of all, let me tell you why boats and ships floats on water. Boats and ships are made of iron, but they float because, according to the Archimedes principle, the buoyant force of the displaced water balances their weight, so they float. Boats and ships are made of iron, but boats and ships are made of iron. They are hollow and very large, so their average density becomes less than that of water. When it is placed in water, the boat or the ship displaces a large volume of water. Secondly, we have lactometer. A lactometer is an instrument used to measure the purity of milk. Here you can see it measures the purity of milk. This is lactometer, and it works on Archimedes principle. The when it is placed in milk, it floats. Pure milk is less denser, so the lactometer floats higher. The adulterated milk is less dense, so the lactometer sinks more. Thus, by noting how deep it can sink, we can find the relative density or the purity of milk. Thirdly, we have hydrometer. Hydrometer is an instrument used to measure the relative density. When it is placed in liquid, it floats. The In a less dense liquid, the hydrometers floats higher. In uh, no, sorry. In a in a denser liquid, like hydrometer floats higher, and a less dense liquid, it sinks more. The scale on hydrometer shows the yeah, shows the relative density of liquids. Now, I have a question for you all. Everyone can answer it. So, why why a person feels lighter while swimming? Anyone? Why a person feel less heavy, less weight, okay, while swimming? The answer is very small. Very easy. Yeah. Because of the buoyant force reduce the weight of the object. So a person feels lighter while swimming because the buoyant because the water exerts an upward buoyant force on its body. So the person feels lighter while swimming. Uh, a stone a stone sinks, but a wooden block doesn't, because a stone has a higher density than the water. So its weight is greater than the buoyant force acting on it. A wooden block has lower density than the water, so the buoyant force is equal to or greater than its weight. Does it sinks? Thank you. One motivational quote upon water. Now we have lastly one motivational quote by water. Nothing is softer or more flexible than water, yet nothing can resist it. What does it mean? This quote means that flexibility and gentleness are more powerful than rigidity and force, as water's yielding nature allows it to flow around everywhere in every corner of the earth, adapt itself, and eventually wear down the hardest of the obstacles, teaching us to use adaptability, not brute strength, to overcome life's challenges. Thank you. Now we conclude over here our presentation, and we are open to any questions from your side.
Very nice, very nicely they have presented. Well done. I can see the effort that you made to make this presentation so wonderful and interactive. Well done. Well done. So I like to welcome question session from of your side from class 9B side. Very nice topic they have chosen, and it's important for your exam also, final exam also. Good. Practical topic.
Sir,
Yes.
I missed the experiment, sorry.
Yes, you understand?
Yeah, please show. Okay. We will now showcase one experiment upon Archimedes' principle. We'll use this jug. It has water till its line where it can overflow at any point if something is immersed into it. This is the object we will be using to immerse in it. It will be the body. If we see the weight of this body with the help of a spring balance, you can see it's nearly 1. Okay, you can see it's nearly 1. Now as I immerse it into this jug full of water, water is overflowing. You can see I'm putting no pressure. Okay, I'm putting no pressure. It is an buoyant force is acting on it. Okay, so it is able to float. Now see the weight, it's 0. It has come down from nearly 1 to 0, which means buoyant force is acting on it, and thus its weight has reduced. Now if we are sorry to say, but the water has overflowed outside, but if even if we calculate this water's volume, that is the weight, then we can see it will be equal to the weight that has decreased from 1 to 0. Try करके देखते हैं। धीरे से धीरे से नेग्लिजिबल हो जाएगा। नेग्लिजिबल हो जाएगा, नहीं होगा, नहीं होगा कुछ छोड़ा। सॉरी, but still I can assure you after the calculation it would be the same as the amount of water, the weight that has decreased from 1 to 0. Thank you. Now we are open to some questions.
Very good, very good. Yeah, you have present so well, but there is a lack of you have to say instrument. Otherwise, it could be a much more let us say active and better. Okay, very nice. Any question? What happened to you guys? You want to ask any question? Yes.
Last. Why do submarines sink and float? Why do submarines sink and float? Why do submarines sink and float?
Sink and float.
Yes.
Okay.
You got the question? Submarine, you know? Submarine?
Yes.
So why it sink also, it float also? How it managed to sink also, float also?
Um,
Shh.
Submarine is same like as boat, but not fully same.
Yeah,
But
it can sink fully also.
yeah,
It can go underwater also. When they have to come out, they can come out float also in the water.
hmm.
How it is managing?
Actually, it has a large volume, so uh, its weight becomes wait, uh, you know,
Huh?
submarine sinks because it has blast tanks. When it sinks, uh, the water filled in the blast tanks, and if it wants to float, the blast tanks water comes out. This way, the density of the or the weight of so this way what happens is the density or the weight of the submarine increases and decreases. If it wants to float, density will be decreased by letting the water out from the tanks inside the submarine. But if it wants to sink, then the tanks will be filled with more and more water so that its weight increases and it is able to get inside the oceans, seas, etc.
Any question? Yes.
To Kanyakumari. Why does a balloon fill with a helium rise in the air?
With helium gas rise in air. Good
Okay.
question. You know? Huh?
I'm not getting it.
You saw gas balloon
Yeah.
during any what to say birthday party? Not that balloon, simple balloon. It is to rise up. A hot air balloon. What make it to rise up?
Um,
And that gas that is used is helium gas. As already said. Why?
because uh, it happens due to density. So,
Say nicely. It's very easy question that he asked.
I
Why the helium gas balloon rises up in the air? Who can answer? Answer is so simple because helium gas has a lower density than the normal gas, normal atmospheric air. This is the reason why the helium gas balloon rises up. Simple. One more question. Very good. Chalo.
Explain how a hydrometer work.
Works.
hydrometer. Will show you for a better understanding. Okay. This is hydrometer. So you can see what a hydrometer is first. Then what it works on. It is written Archimedes principle. It is placed on a liquid. So in a denser liquid, if the density of the liquid is very high, like honey, then the hydrometer floats higher. But if the density is very low, like in water, then it will sink. And this is how it works. I hope you get it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good, good. Okay, good.
Why why do bubbles rise to the surface of water?
Sorry.
To
To whom?
what is her name? No,
What is her name?
Kasturi, Kasturi.
Kasturi. Why the bubbles? Like bubbles always rise up. Huh?
Why do bubbles rise to surface of water?
Bubbles rises surface to the water. When you also put some Sprite in a glass, the bubbles rises up in the surface of the water. This is a question. Share the mic. This is a very nice question. Good. How did you collect the question? Well, simple question. Why the water, what bubbles rises up in the surface of water? Bubbles. It's a good question. Very nice question. Silent. Wait, wait. I have class.
Because
Question is easy or not? Very nice question. Why the bubbles rises up in the surface of water? Who can answer? Can you answer? Are simple. Bubbles is made out of air, right? So have bubbles made out of air, and air is less denser than water. It will obviously rises up, na? If you compare air and water, who is more denser? Water is more denser. The air obviously comes out, na? Suppose you are going to swimming pool and you fart, you do padi. Obviously, it will form a bubble and come out, right? Simple thing, simple logic. Next question.
Why is it easier to float in salty water in fresh water?
Why it is easy to swim or float in salty water than fresh water? Swimming or floating in a salty water is easier than swimming in a fresh water. Why? Bah, very good. Answer, answer.
because salty water is uh, more denser than
Yes, exactly. Very good. Salty water has more density. So that's why you can float easily in the salty water. Very good. Any more? Okay.
Uh, why the bullet when the bullet is shooted on the water? Why it stops soon?
Why the velocity gets slower? When you shoot any bullet in a water body, right? The speed reduces or it stops very soon. Why? Next question.
Why the tank which is multi means it can multi-purpose? Why it floats also and it can goes in ground also?
Tank, which tank?
Like army tank.
So you explain about relative density, right? So if a fish can float, if a fish can swim in the water, why can human easily swim in the water? And like you have said that in relative force, like the the buoyant force is equal to the weight of the object. So why does it not, like, why does a fish can like float in the water but not a human?
Okay, because the relative density is the of the human is more than the water. That is why
No,
a person.
the question is legitimate. Like fish also made up of flesh, right? And human also made up of flesh.
Okay.
So what make a fish swim so easily? Not a human being. Actually, okay now.
So you have seen a fish and a human body. If we compare, the fish's body is made to swim. It is in a shape that is able to move by, like, what we say, slide into the water freely. It has that kind of body, but we humans do not possess that kind of body, due to which the fish are more easily and faster way are able to float.
You want to show? Wasn't? Say.
Sir,
Thank you. Thank you.